I woke up in my aunt's body, staring at my own reflection in the mirror of her Park Avenue penthouse. And the first thing I did was smash the antique vase she'd inherited from Grandma, right there on the marble vanity. Shards flying like the lies she'd buried for years. It wasn't some freak accident or sci-fi glitch, it was her doing. That cold-hearted bitch who dosed me with some black market neural swap serum during what she called our family reconciliation dinner, all to steal my life, my startup, my everything. And as I slipped into her silk robe, feeling the weight of her Botox-smooth skin and the ghosts of her regrets, I whispered to that stolen face, "Raylan's coming for you, Aunt Vivian, and this time, you're the one playing pretend." The serum hit me like a freight train wrapped in velvet, smooth at first. That fancy Cabernet she poured with a smile that never reached her eyes. Then the burn crawling up my spine, twisting my thoughts until the world flipped inside out. 1 minute, I was Raylan Harper, 28-year-old hustler crashing on a futon in Brooklyn, pitching my app to venture capitalists who treated me like a cute side project. The next, I was her. Aunt Vivian. 52. Silver-streaked hair in a flawless chignon. Boardroom queen of Vivian Ventures. The kind of woman who made grown men stutter and women sharpen their stilettos. I remember the dinner like it was etched in acid. We'd barely spoken since I dropped out of Yale to chase this delusional dream, as she called it. My app, SwapSpot, was simple genius, a platform for gig workers to trade shifts in real time. No more getting screwed by last-minute cancellations or bosses who ghosted payroll. I'd bootstrapped it with ramen-fueled code sessions and cold emails to anyone who'd listen. It was blowing up, beta users in 5 cities. A seed round nibbling at my inbox. But Vivian? She saw it as child's play. "Stop playing pretend entrepreneur, Raylan," she'd sneered over the phone last month, her voice like ice cracking on a frozen lake. "You're embarrassing the family name. Come to dinner. We'll talk real opportunities." Real opportunities.
Huh.
That night in her Tribeca townhouse, crystal glasses clinking, she laid it out. Invest in her portfolio. Take a cushy VP gig at one of her firms. Abandon the hobby. I laughed it off. Told her I was close to closing with a VC named Harlan Crow, big fish. Silicon Valley transplant slumming it in NYC. Her eyes narrowed. That predatory glint I'd seen since I was a kid, when she'd swoop in after Mom's funeral, promising to guide me while quietly funneling Dad's inheritance into her empire. The wine tasted off, metallic under the tannins, but I chalked it up to nerves. We talked mergers. She probed about SwapSpot's algorithm, the proprietary bit that predicted shift compatibilities like a psychic matchmaker. I let slip too much, buzzed and desperate for her nod. Then the room spun. Blackness. And awakening to this. Her body moved wrong, heavy in the chest, joints that creaked like old floorboards, a faint ache in the temples from whatever fillers she pumped in quarterly. I stumbled to the full-length mirror in her bedroom, the one framed in gold leaf. And there she was, Vivian staring back, lips parted in my shock.
No.
Not her.
Me.
Trapped in her shell. My hands, her hands, trembled as I touched the face, high cheekbones I'd envied, lips I'd mocked as duck-faced from too many injections. But the eyes?
Mine.
Freaked out hazel, pupils blown wide. Panic clawed at my throat. This wasn't a dream, the silk sheets tangled around legs that weren't mine. Toned from Pilates, but scarred faintly from a long-ago ski accident I'd witnessed as a teen. Her accident. The one she'd blamed on black ice but whispered to me once. Half drunk. Was Dad's fault for distracting her on the slopes. Dad, who died 6 months later in that car wreck she walked away from unscathed. Coincidences,
She'd said.
family curses. I rifled through her nightstand first, birth control pills, a Glock 19 registered to some shell company, and a vial labeled Neuralink prototype, X78. Neuralink? Elon Musk's wet dream.
But this was bootleg.
Smuggled from some Shenzhen lab via her connections. The note taped to it. For Viv, eternal youth. Test on disposable. Disposable.
Me.
She'd lured me here to guinea pig this shit. Swap our consciousnesses so she could ditch her aging husk for my fresh one, young, unscarred, full of the fire she'd long since sold for stock options. Betrayal doesn't hit like a slap. It seeps in, cold and viscous, filling the cracks she'd hammered into my confidence over years. She'd posed as mentor, funneled me just enough cash to keep me hooked, then yanked it when I wouldn't pivot swap spot into her crypto scam. And the secret? Buried deeper than Dad's grave. I'd taken the fall for her once before. 5 years ago, fresh out of college, I'd interned at her firm. A clerical error, millions siphoned to offshore accounts, pinned on me because I was the wide-eyed newbie who signed the wrong form. She coached me through the plea deal, misdemeanor fraud, probation, my record tainted while she skated. Family protects family, she'd cooed, hugging me in the courthouse hallway.
Lies.
All to cover her embezzlement from clients who'd trusted her with retirements.
Now.
In her skin, I felt it all, the power humming in her veins, the Rolodex of senators and CEOs on speed dial. But also the rot, arthritis flaring in her fingers, a heart murmur she'd hidden from board meetings. This swap wasn't just theft, it was her escape hatch from the body and the life she'd poisoned. I dressed in her walk-in closet, Armani suit, Louboutins that pinched like accusations, and grabbed her phone. Fingerprint scan, accepted. Text from Harlan Crow, Vivian, thrilled about the pivot. Raylan's out, your vision aligns better. Lunch tomorrow.
Pivot.
She'd already poached my VC, twisted swap spot into some dystopian labor tracker for her portfolio companies. My app, my blood and code, morphed into her surveillance wet dream. Rage boiled, but I played it cool. First, survival. I needed to reverse this, find the antidote or whatever unholy grail she'd squirreled away. Her calendar. Dr. Kessler, 11 a.m. Neural consult.
Perfect.
But en route, I'd start digging. Her laptop. Password family first 69. Irony's a bitch. Unlocked a vault of files. Emails to a fixer named Marco. Handle the girl post-swap. Make it look like overdose. Clean. Overdose. She'd planned to kill my body once she inhabited it. I slammed the laptop shut. Her heart, pounding. This wasn't just revenge, it was resurrection. From Vivian's penthouse, I'd unravel her empire thread by thread, starting with the lie that got me blackballed. That error wasn't mine. It was hers, tied to a bigger fraud, one that'd topple her if exposed. And the twist? I'd make her watch from my old body, powerless, as I turned her weapons on her. By noon, I was in the back of her chauffeured Escalade, weaving through Manhattan traffic, the city a blur of yellow cabs and suited drones.
Dr.
Kessler's office was in a nondescript, midtown high-rise, the kind with armed security and NDAs thicker than the Bibles in hotel drawers. He was a weasel-faced guy in his 60s, White coat over polo shirt. Eyes darting like he expected feds any second. "Vivian," he greeted, not looking up from his tablet. "Progress on the transfer?" I leaned forward, channeling her Ice Queen vibe. "Flawless.
Doc.
But I need the reversal protocol."
Now.
He froze, then chuckled nervously. "Reversal?
That's
Not standard. The serum's one way for a reason, synaptic overwrite. You're in the prime vessel. Why rock the boat?" "Prime vessel."
me.
I grabbed his wrist, nails digging in. "Because if you don't cough up the counteragent, I'll spill every dirty detail of this op to the Times. Starting with how you sourced it from a cartel lab in Mexico." His face drained of color. "Bluffs work when you're wearing the right skin." He stammered, pulled a drive from his desk. "Encrypted. Codes eternal, Viv." "But Raylan." "Don't say her name," I snapped. "She's me now." Driving back, thumb drive burning a hole in my pocket, I plotted. Step 1. Secure her body. A quick call to Marco's number from her contacts. Change of plans. Keep the girl alive. Sedated. Isolated. I want her to see this. His grunt of confusion was music. Step 2. Infiltrate her world. Tonight's gala at the Met, black tie schmooze fest for her non-profit facade. Actually a front for laundering. I'd attend as Vivian. Charm the marks. Plant seeds of doubt. But doubt started with me. Staring out at the Hudson, gray and unforgiving, I wondered, was this swap a curse or a gift? I'd always been the screw-up niece. The one who dreamed too big in a family of calculated climbers. Vivian had groomed me to fail, then swoop in as savior.
Now.
In her shoes, literally, I'd climb higher, drag her down into the abyss she'd dug for me. That night at the gala, chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold, I glided through the crowd in her emerald gown. Emeralds at my throat that probably cost more than my startup's valuation. Harlan Crow sidled up, champagne flute in hand, his cologne a cloud of entitlement. Vivian. Darling. Raylan was resistant to the changes. Good call bringing me in. I smiled. Vivian's megawatt beam.
Oh.
Harlan. Resistance is for amateurs.
Tell me.
How's the family? Wife still golfing in the Hamptons. He blinked. Throne. Personal jab. Raylan style. Fine.
Fine.
Why? Just curious. Family's everything, isn't it? I clinked glasses. Then whispered. By the way, that pivot, it's got holes. Big ones. Ever wonder why Raylan's code was never audited? His brow furrowed. Seed planted. As he wandered off, I spotted her allies, Senator Hale, the fixer with the Senate seat bought by Vivian's PAC, Elena Voss, media mogul who'd buried my fraud story 5 years back. They nodded, oblivious. I was her, after all. But crack showed. A mirror in the powder room caught me off guard, her face. But my fidgety tick, twisting a ring that wasn't there. My mother's ring, pawned years ago for tuition that went to Vivian's yacht fund. The betrayal stung fresh. She'd raised me after Mom's cancer. Dad's crash. But it was all leverage. You're my legacy, she'd say, while siphoning my trust fund into her investments. Legacy. Bullshit. By midnight, I'd slipped a USB into Elena's clutch, anonymous tip file on Vivian's offshore slush fund. Doctored to look like whistleblower gold. Controversial? Hell yes. Leaking to a viper like Elena meant blowback. Maybe framing innocence. But ethics were for people not wearing their enemy's skin. Back at the penthouse, buzzed on adrenaline and her vintage scotch, I hacked her servers. Raylan's coding skills in Vivian's executive access was God mode. Files upon files. The embezzlement, not millions but billions, funneled through SwapSpot's shell to evade taxes. And Dad's crash? Brake lines cut. Forensics buried by her PI. She'd killed him for the insurance. Framed it as suicide by reckless driving. I'd borne that grief. The whispers at family funerals. While she toasted to moving on, tears, hers, dry and rare, pricked my eyes. This body didn't cry easy. But I did. Silent sobs for the girl I'd been. The crimes I'd shouldered unknowingly. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of swapping back only to find my body puppet by her ghost. Morning brought the call, Marco. Boss. The girl's stirring.
Says she's you.
Freaky shit. Good. I purred. Bring her to the office. We're having a family meeting. The elevator to Vivian Ventures' 52nd floor HQ hummed like a predator's purr. All glass walls and whispers of deals in the air, sense of espresso and ambition thick enough to choke on. I stepped out as her, heels clicking on Italian tile, assistants scattering like pigeons. Morning. MS. Harper. One simpered, Harper. Her maiden name. The one she'd branded on everything to erase Grandma's trashy, married alias. Raylan Harper. My name on her lips. Her empire. In her corner office, floor-to-ceiling views of the Empire State. Desk like a battleship, I waited. The door swung open. And there I was, my body. 5 feet 6 inches of yoga-tone defiance. But slumped. Wrists zip-tied. Eyes wild with Vivian's fury. Marco. A slab of ex-marine in a ill-fitting suit. Shoved her, me, into a chair. You bitch, she hissed. Voice mine, but laced with her venom. What the hell did you do? I circled slow, savoring the reversal. Me? I'm just borrowing the family jewels. Aunt Viv. You dose the wine. Remember? Neural swap, your little fountain of youth play. Poetic. Isn't it? I get the power. You get the probation scars. Her, my face twisted. Freckles standing out against flesh skin.
God.
I looked good angry. This is temporary. Kessler has the reversal. You'll rot in my body while I dismantle your pathetic app. Pathetic. I laughed. Low and throaty. Her signature rumble. SwapSpot's valued at 50 mil now. Thanks to your pivot. But Harlan's cooling. Got a tip about irregularities. And Elena? She's sniffing her Cayman's accounts.
TikTok.
Viv. Marco shifted. Uneasy. Boss, which one? I nodded at him. Untie her. She's family. As the zip ties snapped. She lunged. But I was ready. Vivian's self-defense classes paying off. I pinned her. Forearm across her, my throat. Whispering. Feel that? That's the weight of your lies. Dad's blood on your hands. The money you stole from widows to fund this tower. I know it all now. She bucked. Gasping. You were nothing. A dropout playing house and code. I gave you everything. Raised you after your parents' mess. Mess you made. I released. Stepped back. Evidence scrolled on her monitor. Break tampering invoice. Paid to a ghost via her accounts. This? From your PI's ledger. And the clerical error? My signature forged on your orders. I did 5 years community service for your greed. Her eyes darted, calculating. Always. Prove it. You're me now. Who'd believe the junkie niece over Vivian Harper?
Junkie.
The smear she'd planted post-probation, anonymous tips to VCs about my coke habit, another lie to tank my cred. But in her skin, I felt invincible. I don't need belief. I have access. Sign this. I slid a document across the desk, power of attorney, ceding control of Vivian Ventures to Raylan Harper, interim CEO. She snarled, but Marco's hand on her shoulder said otherwise. Sign, lady. Or we make it messy. Fury in her gaze. But she scrawled it, my hand, her defeat. You'll regret this. Already do, I murmured. Seeing how empty your life is. No friends, just sycophants. No love, just ledgers. I had her sequestered in a safe house upstate, Marco's cabin, stocked with sedatives and satellite TV tuned to HGTV. Her guilty pleasure. Think of it as sabbatical, I told her via video call that night. Her image pixelated on her iPad. Reflect on family. From there, the dismantling began. Controversial decisions? First up, fire the board. Not subtly, a mass email from Vivian's account, citing ethical breaches, attaching redacted files of their kickbacks. Stock dipped 8%. Headline screamed, Harper Empire in turmoil. Pundits on CNBC called it a midlife meltdown. But it flushed the rats. Senator Hale called, voice oily. Vivian. Darling. Drinks? Smooth this over? I met him at the Polo Lounge. Dim booths and whispers of old money. Over scotch. I played coy. Ethics.
Tom.
Your PAC donations. Odd timing with that zoning bill.
He blanched.
Leverage. Partnership. I slid a napkin with terms. Testify against Vivian's fraud ring. Immunity for his peccadillos. He agreed. Eyes hungry for survival. Controversial? Betraying a friend for self-preservation. Classic DC.
But it gnawed at me.
Was I becoming her? Next. The app. I reverted SwapSpot's code overnight. Gutted the surveillance mods. Reinstated worker protections. Users flooded back. Reviews glowing. Finally. Not Big Brother. Harlan emailed. Panicked. Raylan's ghost in the machine? I replied as Vivian. Ghosts haunt. Harlan. Audit your books. But power's a drug. And her body craved it. Late nights poring over ledgers. I uncovered the buried secret. Not just Dad's murder, but Mom's cancer. Vivian's alternative treatments, tainted supplements from her portfolio pharma, accelerated the tumors. Experimental, she'd called it. Testing on family like lab rats. Mom's deathbed plea. Protect Raylan from her. Viv. I'd thought a delirium.
No.
Prophecy. Rage-fueled 4 a.m. Runs along the reservoir. Her Lululemon soaking sweat, that wasn't mine. This body healed slow. Scars itching under silk blouses. Dreams bled. Me in my skin. Her laughing as sirens wailed. I'd wake gasping. Dialing Kessler for updates. Reversal viable in 72 hours, he'd hedge. But neural degradation, memories might. Fragment. Lose chunks of Raylan? The fear twisted deeper than betrayal. Who was I without my past? The Brooklyn dives, code marathons, Mom's lullabies? Vivian's memories seeped in unbidden. Childhood in Queens. Clawing from poverty. First kill, metaphorical. A rival crushed in a merger. Empathy buried under boardroom battles. A week in, the heat built. Elena Voss published the tip. Vivian Harper's Shadow Empire, offshore havens exposed. Shares tanked 20%. Protests outside HQ, gig workers chanting fair swap. Irony. I addressed them from the steps. Vivian's poise masking my quake. Change is here. No more exploitation. Cameras flashed. I was viral. The redeemed titan. But Vivian fought dirty. From the cabin, she'd smuggled a burner, tipping off feds about Vivian's instability. Anonymous psych eval planted in records. Cops showed at dawn. Badges gleaming. MS. Harper. Welfare check. I played it smooth. Invited them in for coffee. Stressful times. But I'm fine. Better than ever. Planted doubt. Ever wonder about my niece? Raylan's been
Off.
talking to herself about swaps. They left unconvinced. But it bought time. Marco reported her escape attempt, tried hot wiring his truck. Ended in a ditch. Busted her ankle. She's raging. Good. Let her stew. My next move, the gallows fallout. A whistleblower emerged, ironic. It was me. Emailing board minutes to the SEC. Controversial as hell, exposing allies who'd funded my education, schools now tainted. But justice? Or vengeance? The line blurred in her stilettos. Climax brewed at the shareholder meeting. Javits Center packed with suits and suspicion. I took the podium as Vivian. Spotlight hot on this unfamiliar face. Ladies, gentlemen, Vivian Harper stands accused. But truth? I've been puppeteered too long by my own ambition. Gasps rippled. I projected the files, embezzlement trails, dad's forensics, mom's tox reports. This ends today. Chaos erupted, phones buzzing, exits clogged. Harlan bolted, Elena live tweeted. And in the wings, via secure feed from the cabin, Vivian watched, my face a mask of horror. You can't, she mouthed. I could. And as feds swarmed the hall, cuffing Hale mid-denial, I felt the swap's toll, migraine spiking, memories flickering like bad reception. Raylan's laugh with college roommates.
Gone.
Vivian's first board win. Vivid as yesterday. Post-meeting. Alone in a holding pattern, SEC interviews. Lawyers circling. I visited the cabin. She was bandaged. Defiant in my old hoodie. Give it back, she spat. Soon. I knelt. Eye level. Why? Viv? Power? Or fear of fading? Fear of you, she admitted. Voice cracking, my crack. You were always brighter. I couldn't let you eclipse me. Twist of the knife, not hate. Envy. Family's poison. I left her there. Reversal serum in Kessler's lab prepped for tomorrow. But dawn brought the call. Neural mismatch. Swap back now. Or both degrade. Permanent limbo. Choice. Stay as her. Rule the ruins? Or risk it all for Raylan? The lab reeked of antiseptic and ozone. Monitors beeping like impatient metronomes. Kessler's face a mask of sweat-slicked regret under the surgical lights. Strapped to parallel gurneys, me and Vivian's body. Her and mine, we faced off across a sterile chasm. IVs dripping counteragent like venom's antidote. Neural sync at 87%, he muttered. Gloved hands hovering over consoles. Degradation risk, 40%. Memories may. Cross-pollinate. Cross-pollinate. As if this wasn't already a Frankenstein fever dream. Vivian's eyes, my eyes, locked on mine. Pleading masked as glare. Don't do this. Raylan. We can rule together. Your app. My network, unstoppable. Together? I scoffed. Her voice echoing hollow. You mean you pulling strings from the shadows?
No.
This ends. But doubt wormed in. Her memories bleeding through the haze. A girl in Queens. Scraping by on scholarships. Watching her sister, Mom, marry that fool, Dad. Only to see it all crumble. Vivian's climb wasn't malice born. It was survival etched in cut-rate apartments and skipped meals. She'd loved Mom. In her twisted way, funded the treatments, out of desperation.
Not design.
The supplements? A Hail Mary from a contact. Unvetted. When Mom withered, Vivian shattered, rebuilding walls of deals and disdain.
Me?
The reminder of failure, bright enough to threaten her fragile throne. The machine word, currents buzzing through wires snaking our skulls. Pain lanced, fire in synapses, identities unraveling like cheap thread. Flashes, my first pitch, trembling in a coffee shop. Harlan's gnawed the sun-breaking clouds. Her first kill, wait. Not literal, a competitor's secrets leaked. Career suicided. Whose memory? Mine? Hers? The line dissolved. Sink at 95%, Kessler barked. Hold steady, Vivian thrashed. Stop.
I
didn't mean for your father. The brakes, it was rage. A moment. He was leaving her. The money. Lies. But the serum lied too. Dumping data. Voicemails from Dad. Pleading with Vivian to back off the affair rumors she'd spread to protect Mom. He'd confronted her on the slopes. Words turned to shoves. Accident born of fury. Not murder premeditated, but manslaughter in passion's heat. She'd covered it. Bribed the coroner. Because confession meant losing everything, including me, the niece she'd sworn to shield. Guilt hit harder than the swap. I'd borne not just the crime, but her penance, raising me in opulence laced with paranoia, grooming me to fail so I'd never outshine, never expose. Deep betrayal. Yes, but rooted in a love rotted by fear. The reversal peaked. World inverting again, colors bleeding, bones shifting like tectonic plates. I blacked out screaming her name. Or mine. Awakening was nausea and disorientation. The ceiling fan's blur resolving to Kessler's office, same as before. But now in my body, wrists chafed from restraints long gone. Across the room, Vivian stirred in hers, groaning, her face aged, lined, contorting in recognition. It worked, she rasped, voice her own, gravelly from disuse. Raylan. I sat up, legs mine, wiry and familiar, toes curling in hospital socks.
Yeah.
It's me. Relief flooded. Then wariness. The cross-pollination? I felt echoes, her poise in my slouch. A flicker of boardroom ruthlessness in my coder's empathy. Kessler cleared his throat. Stable.
But.
Residual links. Dreams. Impulses. Therapy recommended. We ignored him. Vivian swung her legs down, standing shaky, my old jeans hanging loose on her frame. What now? You have the files. The leverage. Ruin me. Temptation sang, call the feds. Watch her empire crumble in orange jumpsuits and asset freezes. But the memories whispered mercy's edge. Controversial decision. Offer a deal.
Confess.
The embezzlement. Dad's accident. Truth for leniency. No prison. Just restitution. And you walk away from everything. Her laugh was bitter, echoing her gala toasts.
And you?
Play the white knight entrepreneur. Something like. I stood. Eye to eye equals. Finally. Or I leak it all. Your call. She chose confession. Inked a plea that night. Coerced? Voluntary? The lawyers would argue. By morning, headlines shifted. Harper heiress turns whistleblower on family fraud. Vivian's face. Mine no more. Splashed across the post, from tycoon to turncoat. But power's vacuum sucks hard. With her empire fracturing, opportunists circled, Harlan offering partnerships, Elena pitching exposés. I reclaimed Swap Spot, valuations soaring on the redemption arc, the app that swapped back. Users poured in, but so did scrutiny. Feds audited my code, hunting for Vivian's backdoors. Clean, but the taint lingered, whispers of nepotism higher. Vivian vanished post-plea. Rumors of a low-key life in Sedona, peddling essential oils to exos.
Me?
I thrived.
Or tried.
TED Talk invites. Forbes 30 under 30 redux. But nights brought her ghosts, dreams of mergers won with lies. The thrill of a crushed rival. I'd wake sweating, questioning, was the swap's scar making me harder? Or just revealing the steel I'd always had? The real tension brewed in the underbelly. Marco, loyal to the highest bidder. Leaked chats, my coercion of Vivian, painting me as the puppet master. Tabloids ate it. Body-snatching scandal? Harper sisters' sci-fi feud. No proof of the swap. Kessler's lab torched in a gas leak, but innuendo flew. Protests at my launch events. Justice for Vivian. Her fans. Blind to the rot. Controversy peaked at the antitrust hearing, FTC grilling Swap Spot's dominance. I testified, poised in a pantsuit that felt like armor borrowed from her closet. Innovation isn't monopoly, I argued, channeling her debate chops. But under oath, the buried secret clawed up, Dad's full autopsy, unsealed in her plea, showing not just tampered breaks but traces of the same sedative from the swap vial. Vivian hadn't just covered, she'd drugged him pre-crash. Blackout fuel for the confrontation.
Gasps in the gallery.
Senator Hale, now state's witness, took the stand next. Vivian Harper orchestrated it all. Fraud. The accident. Raylan, victim turned avenger. His testimony shattered her remnants. Accounts frozen. Associates flipping like dominoes. Yet the twist gnawed. Hale's immunity? Bought with my tip. But his files revealed he'd greenlit Vivian's PAC bribes, complicit in Mom's tainted trials. Lobbying against FDA oversight. I called him out mid-recess. Voice low in the marble hall. You played us both.
He smirked.
Family business.
Kid.
Welcome to the game. Back home in my reclaimed Brooklyn walk-up, lease back without profits, I paced. Phone buzzing with offers. Book deals. Netflix series. But the UM lingered. Dark tension coiling like fog off the East River. Vivian called once. Voice frail over crackly line. The dreams, your life and mine. I see it all now. Forgive. No, I said, but hung up softer than intended. Forgiveness? Debatable. Her betrayal scarred. But the swap had forged me, empathy tempered with cunning. Dreams armored against deceit. Climax loomed, not in labs or boardrooms, but court, Vivian's sentencing hearing. Federal courthouse in Foley Square. Air thick with rain and resentment. I sat front row, her eyes seeking mine across the bar, pleading, accusatory. The judge, a no-nonsense black woman from Brooklyn, intoned the charges: manslaughter, wire fraud, conspiracy. Mitigating, her confession, restitution plan, billions to victims' funds, including Mom's cancer research wing. Prosecutor droned stats. Defense painted her as broken titan, redeemed by truth. Then witnesses, Marco, gruff and gold-toothed, detailing the swap serum's origins, cartel ties, human trials on undocumented migrants. She wanted youth. Raylan got stuck with the bill.
Gasps.
The judge leaned in. MS. Harper, Raylan, this swap. Elaborate. I took the stand. Heart hammering. Truth or shield. Experimental therapy gone wrong. But it revealed everything. Her secrets. My burdens. No sci-fi dive. Frame it psychological. The out-of-body, metaphor for identity theft. Jurors nodded. Empathetic. America loves a comeback. But Hale's turn cracked it open. Vivian didn't act alone, he testified. Voice booming. I facilitated.
And Raylan?
She knew the ledgers as in turn, signed off.
Lies.
Or half-truth. My forged signature. Yes. But under duress. The gallery murmured. Flashbulbs popped. Vivian's head snapped up. Betrayal fresh in her gaze, now aimed at me?
No.
At him. Perjury, she whispered from the dock. The twist inverted. Hale's play for leniency. Pinning residuals on me to lighten his load. Court erupted. Recess called. Bailiffs hurting. In the hallway, Vivian cornered me. Chains clinking. He twisted it. You know. I do. But doubt seated. Had the swap's bleed made me complicit? Impulses urging silence on Hale's role to protect the Empire's scraps? As gavel fell. Sentence dropped. 15 years. Eligible for parole in 7 with good behavior. No slap, justice. American style, harsh but haggleable.
Fifiena met my eyes.
Nod faint. Gratitude? Or plot for appeal? Outside. Rain slicked the steps. Protesters chanting dual slogans, Free Viv and Justice for Gigs. I slipped into a cab, soaked and spent, the city's pulse mocking my fractured one. The months post-sentencing blurred into a grind of depositions and damage control. Swap spots glow-dimmed by subpoenas and shareholder suits. I holed up in a WeWork in Williamsburg, irony. Leasing from Vivian's old portfolio, coding fixes while lawyers parse the fallout. Hale? Indicted separately. His testimony unraveling like cheap yarn. Exposing a web of packed dirt that snared 3 more senators. America tuned in. Popcorn munching the circus. Harpergate, from startup to scandal.
Me?
Cast as the plucky survivor. But whispers dogged. Raylan's too slick. Harper blood runs deep. Late-night scrolls through Reddit threads. Anonymous posts dissecting the swap delusion. Therapists I'd seen post-reversal billing it as dissociative episode. No proof. But the stigma stuck. Gigs drying up as VCs eyed me warily. Great pivot, one emailed. But stability?
Stability.
The word mocked as I stared at my reflection, Raylan's face. But with faint lines from her stress. Botox ghosts haunting the corners of my eyes. The cross-pollination lingered, cravings for dry martinis, impulse to crush a rival app with predatory pricing. I'd catch myself mid-pitch, voice dipping into her timbre, and recoil. Therapy helped, CBT sessions unpacking the betrayal's layers, but the dark tension coiled tighter. Shadows lengthening with each win. Vivian wrote from Alderson. The federal camp in West Virginia, low security. Yoga classes and khakis. A far cry from Park Avenue. Her letters arrived weekly, penned in my old loopy script. The dreams persist. Your mother's laugh.
Clear as day.
I see now what I stole, not just time, but chances. Forgive the unforgivable. Enclosed. Checks to Mom's fund. Modest, but steady. Controversial? Keeping them felt like profiting from pain. Returning them, like erasing her atonement. I visited once. Drive through Appalachia's folds. Leaves turning bloody under a slate sky. She looked diminished, hair graying unchecked. Frame softened by institutional slop. But eyes sharp. Vivian's core unbowed. You look good, kid, she said over plexiglass. Receiver greasy. App thriving. Surviving. I leaned in. Hale's plea, he's naming names. Yours included. Again. She shrugged. Let him. Truth's out. Mostly.
Pause. Heavy.
The serum? Kessler lied. Reversal wasn't full. Parts of me and you. You and me. That's the real twist. Chill traced my spine. What parts? Your fire. My caution. Best of both. Her smile.
Rye.
Or curse. Driving back. Rain lashing the windshield. I grappled the implication. No clean break. The swap's legacy. A hybrid soul. Raylan's dreams fused with Vivian's pragmatism.
Zip ob gig.
It propelled SwapSpot's next phase, global expansion. AI ethics board stacked with ex-gig workers. Valuation hit 200 mil. But board meetings triggered flashes her strategies. Ruthless and right. Controversy reignited at South by Southwest. Austin's heatwave haze turning the convention center into a sweatbox of disruptors and dealmakers. I keynote. Swapping power, from exploitation to empowerment. Crowd ate it, claps thundering. Q&A probing the family drama. A journo from Wired pressed. Rumors of identity issues post-scandal. Care to comment. Laughter.
Forced.
Identities fluid in tech. Like code. Refactor. Don't delete. But off stage. Harlan cornered me in a green room. Breath scotch sour. Clever. Raylan. But Vivian's pivot saved your ass. Without her theft, no buzz. Her theft nearly killed me. Fist clenched hers, I shoved past. But his words festered. Was success built on her infamy? The app's surge tied to headlines. My Avenger, brand a double-edged sword. Back in NYC. The real Chow Treo brood, not in spotlights, but shadows. Marco called. Voice low from a burner. Loose end. Kessler's ghosting. But I found his stash, more vials. Notes on enhanced swaps. Sold to elites. Vivian's clients.
Elites.
Senators. Moguls chasing immortality via black market brain hacks. The network she'd built. Now rogue. I dove in. Nights blurring into code cracks and stakeouts. Brooklyn girl gone noir. First hit. A gala at the Frick. Vivian's old haunt. Now hosting a philanthropy mixer for Kessler's patrons. I crashed in off-the-rack chic. Eavesdropping whispers of eternal boards and youth serums. Target. Elena Voss. Plump on Vivian's leaks. Now peddling the tech to Hollywood as beans. In the coat room. I cornered her. Voice low. The swap you knew? She smirked. Pearls glinting. Rumors. darling. But if true, game changer.
Wanted.
Testimonial for the memoir. Punch landed square, her nose bloodied. Security swarming. Assault charge pending. But her phone, snatched in the scuffle. Spilled. Text to Hale. Coordinating discreet trials. Controversial move? Vigilante justice. Risking my empire for unfinished revenge. Cops release me with a warning. Harper luck, but the file's burned. Names. Dates. A ledger tying back to Mom's treatments. Kessler hadn't sourced tainted subs alone. Vivian's network tested them on unwitting subjects, cancer patients, gig underclass. Rage reignited. Pure Raylan. I leaked to ProPublica. Anonymous drop. Elite immortality ring. Human cost. Fallout tsunami. Raids on labs. Elena's empire cracking. Hale's trial exploding. Public outcry. Protests in D.C. Hashtags swap the power. But blowback hit home. SwapSpot sued for facilitating exploitation. Plaintiffs claiming the app's early bugs, Vivian's mods, led to wage theft suicides. Court date loomed. Manhattan Federal. Same halls as Vivian's plea. I prepped with pros. But doubts gnawed, her impulses urging settlement. Hush money to bury. Protect the legacy, a whisper in my head. No, fight. Hearing day. Gallery packed. Activists. VCs. Vivian's ghost via letter read in absentia. Raylan bears no blame. I do.
Judge.
Stern. Parse motions. Then twist. Plaintiff star witness. A former user. Testified. Raylan fixed it. Personally coded the safeguards. Vivian's shadow lingered. But light one.
Dismissed.
Jubilation?
Hollow.
Victory tasted of her strategies. Settle side claims quietly. Spin the win. Nights after. Tension peaked in solitude. Dreams of the swap reversing mid-reversal. Stuck hybrid. Ruling a fractured world. I'd wake to her voice in my throat. Reciting board mantras. The UM deepened. America's underbelly exposed. Powers not swapped. It's shared in the scars. Vivian's next letter arrived with a PS. The real secret? I swapped to save you. Saw your burnout. The VCs circling like vultures. Wanted to teach from inside. Failed spectacularly.
Lie.
Truth? Debatable. It humanized her. The ant who'd crushed to connect. Forgiveness flickered. But revenge's embers glowed. Not for her. But the system she'd epitomized. As winter bit NYC. Snow muffling the grind. I plodded forward. SwapSpot's nonprofit arm. Funding neural ethics research. Legit. Open source. But the call came. Parole board greenlit Vivian early. Good behavior. Release in spring. Welcome home? Or war renewed. Spring erupted in Central Park like a glitchy render. Cherry blossoms pixelating pink against concrete gray. Joggers weaving through the thaw, as if rebirth was default code. Vivian's release day dawned crisp. Feds cutting her ankle monitor with ceremonial snip. Media scrum waiting like wolves at the gate. I wasn't there. No Hallmark reunion. Instead, a burner text. Cabin. Noon. We talk. The drive upstate twisted through greening hills. My old Civic rattling like memories unsettled. Marco's place, now mine. Bought post-scandal with restitution scraps, squatted by the lake. Dock creaking under April's tentative sun. She arrived in a cab from the halfway house. Duffel slung over shoulder. Clad in thrift store jeans and a blouse that screamed reformed. No makeup. Hair loose and silver-threaded. Vulnerable. Or ploy. Raylan, she said, stepping onto the porch, voice soft as the wind off the water. No hug. We settled at the picnic table, thermos of coffee steaming between us like a fragile truce. You look free, I offered, pouring. Truth, smaller, but unbowed, eyes still scanning for angles. She sipped, winced at the bitterness. Freedom's overrated. Yoga and group therapy, endless apologies to ghosts.
Pause.
Gaze on the lake. The dream stopped. Yours too. Mostly.
Lie.
Last night, her closing the deal that bankrolled Mom's false hope. Tears in the rear view as she drove away. Hale's trial starts next week. He's singing your name. Elena's. Kessler's estate. She nodded, unsurprised. Let him. I've paid. But you the app. The headlines. You're the story now.
Story.
The word chafed. I'd reclaimed my narrative, but her shadow scripted the subtext. Swap spot hit unicorn status. IPO whispers buzzing. But ethics probes lingered, FTC sniffing residual monopoly vibes. Success American dream gloss over the grit, late nights auditing for backdoors. Therapy unpacking hybrid impulses. Her cunning saved deals, my heart steered the mission. Controversial undercurrent. I'd hired her old fixer, Marco, as security chief, ex-con redemption, or Trojan horse. He proved loyal, busting a phishing ring targeting users. But trust's a gamble. Vivian's letters had seeded it. Leverage the devils you know.
Now.
Face to face. The buried truth surfaced, raw as spring mud. Why the swap? Really? I pressed, voice steady. Not envy. Something deeper. She set the mug down. Hand steady, mine.
Once. Fear.
Not of you, eclipsing, but losing you. Saw the path. Burnout. VCs chewing you up. Ending like your dad, broken by the climb. Her laugh.
Hollow.
Thought inhabiting you. I'd steer from inside. Guide the better choices. Instead, I broke us both. Revelation landed soft. No thunder, truth reversed. Not malice, but misguided love. The betrayal? Still scarred. But reframed. Her crimes. The covers. Born of a terror she'd never voiced. Abandonment. After Mom.
Dad.
Her own barren empire. I'd borne the mistakes not as pawn, but unintended shield. Forgive, she asked. Echo of letters. Debatable. I stood. Lake breeze carrying pine and possibility. But truce. Help me dismantle the network, Kessler's clients. Off record. Your intel for a quiet life here. Eyes lit. Calculation flickering then fading.
Deal.
But one condition, let me invest. Legit. In swap spot. Your vision. My. Caution. Hesitation, hand out. Waiting. Controversial? Partnering with the devil who'd worn my skin? But the Chow Trio of revenge wasn't destruction. It was reclamation. Turning poison to antidote. I shook.
Small stake.
And therapy together. She grinned. Faint, first real since the swap. Family tradition. Months unspooled in uneasy alliance. Vivian cabin-bound. Consulting remotely, her Rolodex yielding tips on elite holdouts. Serum stashes raided by feds tipped anonymously. Hale's trial imploded. Perjury charges. His testimony shredded. Vivian's plea holding as the linchpin. Elena folded. Assets seized for victim funds. Mom's wing breaking ground in Bronx. Ribbon cut with gig workers' cheers. Swap spot IPO'd summer solstice. Bell rung on NASDAQ floor amid confetti and chants. Valuation: 1.2 bill. Me in jeans and sneakers. Her watching from the crowd, uninvited, but there. Not across the frenzy. Post-bash. Brooklyn loft packed with coders and cabs. I felt it whole. The hybrid soul? Strength. Not curse, Raylan's fire. Vivian's steel. But the ending? No tidy bow. Dreams persisted. Faint echoes, her regrets in my ambitions. My doubts in her quiet. Debates raged online. Hero or opportunist? Justice or complicity? Vivian's book deal leaked excerpts. Swapped souls, a sister's sin. Controversy flared. Plagiarism claims on my story, but it's sold. Proceeds to restitution. We met monthly at the cabin. Talks evolving from tactics to confessions. Her. I envied your mess, the passion without the price. Me. And I yours, the power without the loneliness. Truce deepened to tentative bond. Family reforged in the forge of betrayal. Yet you am tension simmered. American undercurrent. Power corrupts. Swaps or no. A rival app launched, knockoff with surveillance baked in, and impulse whispered her old plays. Crush it. I chose open source counters. But the poll lingered. Debatable victory. Final twist. Autumn Harvest Moon. Kessler's hidden lab uncovered. Not destroyed, stockpiled vials intact. A client's daughter comatose from a botched swap. Vivian and I testified. Joint statement. And this now. Feds shuttered it. But whispers of black market revivals echoed. As snow dusted the lake, I stood on the dock. Vivian beside, silhouettes against the freeze. Worth it, she asked. Everything and nothing. Revenge's arc, not triumph or tragedy, but evolution scarred, stronger, endlessly arguable. And in that gray expanse, I whispered to the water. We swapped back. But who won?